Former McKinsey, founding CEO of AirAsia X, took them from startup to $1 billion IPO with 2,500 employees. Former CEO of iflix Malaysia, co-founded Naluri in 2017 to tackle the intersection of physical and mental health, specifically tailored for Southeast Asia. Despite his elite resume, he famously faced over 100 investor rejections in the early days of Naluri. Eventually, 500 Global backed him. They have now raised nearly $15 million, including a recent Series B led by Talis Global Ventures. Some fun facts. He was clinically overweight, transformed into Ironman triathlete, survived a horrific road accident while cycling, and recovered in under 6 months to compete again. He also wrote a book called 30 Days and 30 Years. You were the founding CEO of AirAsia X, took them to IPO and scaled iflix. Then you started from zero in digital health with Naluri. What is the biggest psychological shock going from running a $1 billion aviation business with thousands of employees to fighting for early stage survival, that too in health tech?
Wow. Well, guys, welcome to Naluri. There are psychological shocks in all of these situations. But if you were to ask me which is probably the biggest one, it is one where you're betting everything on the line. You've got to be 100% responsible to ensure that there is enough for monthly payroll for your employees, because in a way, livelihoods really depend on you. So I think when you're really building from scratch, that managing cash, managing your runway, people really depend on you. That can be terrifying.
And what went through your mind before embarking on this digital health journey?
So what's interesting is everybody says when you're trying to build a startup, whatever you think your revenue growth projections are and how fast you're going to get that, well, you're probably going to half your revenue projections and double the time it takes to get there. And how much capital you think you need to burn, well, be prepared to double that. It's one thing to know that logically, but when you actually have to go through it, it's still a tough thing to ask.
I was looking through your resume. You have one of the strongest executive resume in the region. Yet you pitched Naluri and faced over 100 rejections.
Oh yes.
From investors before getting your breakthrough.
Yes.
And now you have raised nearly $15 million, including a recent Series B. When you have the track record that you do, how do you handle 100 VCs looking at you and saying no? I mean, that's a staggering number.
So one, yes, and it's still painful. Rejection is not pleasant for sure. But one perspective that has helped guide me is to realize the success of pitching, especially for fundraising or business development, often is less about the quality of your pitch, what you're offering, but the context of the other person across the table. Are they the right fit for you? Are they specifically looking to invest and deploy at that particular time, right? And oftentimes, who is influencing their decision? Because a lot of investors at the end of the day, they're kind of seeing, I don't want to be the one too far outfill, but I also don't want to miss out on opportunities. So are there other people that if they're doing the same, I'll follow? So when you reframe it as a founder from about worrying about is it me? What's so bad about my pitch that I'm getting 100 rejections? To you realizing that, 90 out of those 100, those weren't the right people for you.
I mean, that's a good approach. But again, I would ask me, if I wasn't in those shoes, 100 rejections, even 100 job application rejections, you just give up. I mean, what kept you going?
Okay. One, I think the problem that we set out to solve is big, right? And it does require bringing people from different parts to solve that problem together. And I think that's something I've also learned. For example, if you were to build an airline, you can raise all the capital that you want, but if you can't convince regulators to give you the licenses and approvals that you need, if you can't convince people to join you, you can't convince customers that this is the product they want to use, it's not going to happen, right? So likewise, when we set ourselves to think, what would it take to make mental health specifically more affordable and accessible, and ultimately be bundled with health insurance, right? So you got to bring so many different people together. And it's hard, right? Because people have different motives, priorities, resource constraints. So you almost have to kind of realize, I've got to thread this needle through multiple holes. and I just need to get the timing right. And so if it means having to go through 100 no's, that's what it takes.
Amazing. I mean, tremendous resilience on your part.
That's why I've lost all my hair, guys.
Well, we can fix it soon. So the other question is, health tech is slow to scale because of B2B sales cycles and regulations. So what was the specific pivot in your pitch that finally got the ecosystem back your unit economics?
Yeah, so our journey of finding that product market fit was circuitous and confusing. In the early days, I mean, we tried to see, should we offer a B2C offering? And you realize, while everybody will say, yes, there's a dire need for mental health, very few people would actually want to pay for it. You start to meet a lot of these pharma companies at all these digital conferences, and they all want to showcase their digital initiatives and invite you to be part of these pilot programs, sandboxes, etc. Until you realize, at the end of the day, they virtually are not interested in really using digital to replace pharmaceutical products, right? They're still pushing the pill.
Yeah.
So it was just more of a check the box mindset. Hospital directors say, hey, this is really interesting because you can either add value to the people who just come in and do an executive health screening, and then we tell them why they're unhealthy, but nothing happens afterwards. Could Naluri extend that continuity of care? Or if someone gets discharged after heart bypass, how do we make sure someone's looking after them when they get back home and come back for the follow-up checkups? So a hospital director says, I can see the business potential in this, until you realize they have virtually no influence on the actual doctors that work in the hospitals, because doctors are not employees. And doctors are very possessive and territorial about their patients and very skeptical about anything new. So it becomes very hard pushing a boulder uphill. Insurance companies initially thought, hey, this is important, but their margins are so razor thin, their willingness to go beyond those pilot projects again was negligible.
Yeah.
It was only because we found large corporate enterprises that both had the real problem they wanted to tackle, because when people fall sick and they're not showing up for work, or showing up for work and being unproductive, is a real cost to the bottom line, and they had the means to pay for it. So that worked. Now, of course, in the early days, addressing the enterprise segment is hard, especially if you have no track record whatsoever. So to be frank, we were very fortunate that our first few was built on relationships that got us that access, that we were able to turn that first pilot project into full-scale implementation, that then other corporate clients saw and said, oh, if you're working for that big blue chip company, we should talk to you too. So it was very hard.
And when did it become easy? Once you start onboarding companies?
I'll tell you when it is. It's still not easy.
Okay. So Naluri connects physical health with mental health,
Yes.
Which is a highly localized and sensitive issue in Southeast Asia. You sell to corporates, insurers, and pharma, like we discussed. So how do you build an ecosystem of trust with massive corporate clients to ensure Naluri actually changes employee behavior rather than just being another wellness app that HR pays for and nobody uses?
So I think the first thing to recognize is people have different motivations why health and wellness should be part of their corporate culture. I mean, and one of the regional airlines CEO, I got that meeting because he's like, oh, so you're a fellow CEO as well. We came from outside the industry. Let's have coffee. Then he realized, this is a very important thing. And when I start talking to him about, look, this is how it can influence your bottom line, return on investment, he just stopped and said, yeah, Azran, what I really just want my employees to know is I care for them, I'm making this successful. He was not interested in the economics and the returns of it. In contrast, another oil and gas company was very, very focused on quantifying the exact bottom line. How do I benchmark against regional and global peers? I want to be able to demonstrate it to my CEO and my CFO. So you've got a wide variety of motivations. And I think the key to sales is to first make sure you listen and understand what they want, and then kind of help them achieve what their goals are.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that being a good salesman, you have to be a good listener.
First and foremost, absolutely.
Yeah. we're going to do rapid fire.
Sure.
That's the fun part. And I'm going to keep it to 10 seconds for each of the questions.
Okay.
And then once you answer all three, there are three questions, we can take a deep dive on why you answered them. So the first one, you recovered from a massive road accident to compete in an Ironman in under 6 months. That's true, right?
Yes, it is.
Does extreme physical resilience directly translate to startup resilience, or is that a myth?
It absolutely does, because you need that curiosity to look at how do I get out of this box, and the persistence to persevere and follow through. For sure it does.
Second, airplanes, video streaming, or healthcare. Which industry is generally the hardest to disrupt?
Airplanes. Aviation.
Aviation. What is the single most important metric for a Series B health tech company, in your opinion?
The maintaining both revenue growth while showing margin growth at the same time. So you can't do either or. You need to be able to show I can hit both top line and bottom line together.
So, I mean, the first one you answered, that physical resilience is definitely important. I mean, you have to be in a certain mental state. Why aviation is hard?
Well, I think because kind of government regulations is stringent. Every single screw, nut, and bolt you put on that plane needs to be registered with the regulator. That's kind of the level of precision. And in an industry that demands standardization and consistency, where are the moments where you can show an edge? Because disrupting an industry requires you to do something that no one else in the industry does. So it just makes it that much harder. And of course, the capital at stake. One single airplane is $100 million US.
Yep.
Like a data center.
It's more on the data center side. But a Series B metric.
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you think is this most important for you in the health tech?
So I think, there are people who can, their whole investment thesis is something truly unique, proprietary, whether it's like a drug or an mRNA vaccine. But for the most part, the viability of a growth stage company is both the revenue trajectory, which means there's real demand for this, but at the same time, you can see margins growing, because that means there's a sustainable unit economics, that the more you grow, the more successful you're going to be, rather than, startups where the faster I grow, the more I burn.
Okay. And the last one, what's next for Naluri?
Well, to me, it's a combination of three things. One, geographic spread, right? So we're very focused on this year, the Philippines, and then maybe later by the end of the year, Vietnam, to have a full, complete Southeast Asia footprint. Number two, we're going deeper with insurance companies. We've got some exciting partnerships. So rather than saying Naluri needs to be a standalone, Naluri increasingly is being bundled with corporate health insurance, especially in Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines. I'll be excited to do that in Indonesia and Vietnam. Number three is then adding new areas of care. One personal area that I'm really interested in is musculoskeletal, chronic pain, right? Like, because in the workplace, that's actually a big recurring issue, right? And so how do we help organizations also monitor that, because it influences sick leave and productivity similar to chronic diseases.
Amazing. I mean, you already have the road path set. With that, thank you so much for coming on Ghazonomics Builders and Backers. And on all three goals, I hope you scale rapidly and take Naluri and Malaysia to the next level.
Oh, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for all the support AWS gives us.
My pleasure.